was just telling you that there's, I don't know, I don't know, whatever.
Hardal?
Hardal? I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
Haral is not good. That's poison.
Huh? No, 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 but yeah, it was really interesting.
I'm not sure what I'm doing
Got home
here.
around 1:30.
Oh my God.
And I don't even know, you know, when other people came, I mean, left because we left Mamash right after the Rab finished talking.
Do you understand him? Because he mumbles, right? He's not that.
Well, I tell you what, I always wanted to sit as close to him as possible. But now with microphones.
Oh, you heard him. And he spoke in English, right?
No, he didn't.
No, sometimes he speaks.
Wow.
I know, but it was in Hebrew. So I
Good for you.
didn't really understand but they always have writing,
Oh,
but of course, like my Hebrew is not that fast. So I caught a couple of things, but I really would like to find out
what
if
he
they're going
said.
to.
Welcome.
Oh,
Thanks for coming.
so nice to see you. How are you?
Yeah. Shavua Tov. Yeah. Anyway, it was an adventure.
Awesome. Oh, how are you? You look amazing.
Thank you. Well, thanks. You should know all the good stuff.
You look very fit. You look like you've been doing a lot of sport or training.
I do. I'm training, but
It shows.
depends on the day.
It shows.
Last night I saw such a good movie, by the way.
Oh, did
I
you
recommend The Apprentice. It's about Donald Trump, how he became Donald Trump, in real estate
With Ellie Cohen?
with Roy Cohen.
Bill Cohen.
Roy Cohen was his lawyer.
Yeah. I saw that. I didn't see the movie. I
Saw that it
came
was,
across.
yeah.
I saw the previews.
Very, very. You go to movies sometimes, or you don't have time.
No, actually, often I went to a movie. What did we see? It was a silly movie. It was a movie we went to the theater. And I haven't been to the cinema in like I don't know, maybe 5 years. It's been a really long
And there's
time.
such, the Jewish Film Festival is coming in a few days with some really good movies at the Cinematheque.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, she's a filmmaker, Sigal Evans, and she's from Los Angeles. Originally from here, but lives in LA. And she's a filmmaker, so I'm wondering if she's going to have a film.
Well, look up the Cinematheque, Google.
When is it?
I don't know. I'm going to check into it. It's this week, maybe the 25th to the 28th. Sorry.
No, go.
No.
Let's
You'll let
take a
us
few.
know.
I'll let you know for sure.
The Persona Hanukkah. It's
There's one I want to see. It's about an Hungarian, which interests me. After the Holocaust, he moves away from Hungary and becomes a world famous architect. So I want to see that one.
oh,
And then there's another Hungarian Holocaust written by Adir Hiller, who is a very well-known Israeli actor.
Yes.
And it's called The Ring. His mother survives the Shoah because she sells her ring, and they go back to Hungary recently. Should be very interesting.
He tries to find.
Yes.
I saw that preview.
Yeah.
And they go
Thank
all
you,
the way back to
Judy.
Hungary and they're
Is
trying to
there-
find
Judy,
this ring
is there
because
a
she has
Tanakh?
a little box.
A Tanakh somewhere?
I want to see that one.
Yes, I want to see that one
Yeah,
too. I
there's
saw the
there
preview.
was very good.
There are a couple
But
behind
this
you.
Trump thing, it's so
not like-
good. Oh my gosh!
Lying down.
Just showing like where he came.
Well, it's only it's a director, the director's maybe like his impression of
Perception.
Trump.
Oh, okay.
But it's still
It's not like a documentary. It's his
It's
perception.
a fiction, but I mean, it's a movie. Very, very the acting. The guy who plays Roy Cohen, he looks like the devil incarnate. Very good actor. Very, very, very good.
Oh, I have to look at it. Really bizarre movie with Tom Hanks.
Oh,
And it's all done in AI, the movie,
oh,
and it shows like Tom Hanks. He looks like he's 19 years old in the movie
Oh.
because it like regenerated
oh.
his physical of his features, and he looks extremely extremely young. And so people were like, "How did they do that?" And it's the woman that he played in Forrest Gump with.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like about a house and how how time moves on, the house stays and people
Oh.
live in it and they have a story, and then somebody else moves in and they have a story. And the way it was shot was like in these photographs, like this is happening.
In still.
Yeah, it was kind of I didn't really particularly care for the way that it was shot. It was very difficult to follow because they kept going. It was supposed to have taken place in like Washington D.C. So it was going back to like Civil War times and back to slavery times, and then even dinosaur times. Like this land had always been there, and each evolution of time had a different story.
Sounds very good, actually.
It actually was good
Very good.
because the house that you grew up in, you have like memories there, and I've driven past my childhood home so many times, and you just know the layout of the house.
You go in. You go in sometimes.
I have asked the new owners, and they
Yeah.
were good friends with my parents, so I always would say, "Oh, do you mind if I just walk through?"
And what does it feel like? What comes back to you?
Like such nostalgia, like such like.
Did you have your own room?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And like what my bed looked like, and things that we did during holiday, and in the backyard, and looking at the pool.
Your parents built the house, or they bought it?
They bought it.
Okay, I'm ready when you are,
Yeah,
Judy.
okay.
Oh, Shabafai's here. Hi, sweetie. He's a kiss.
You made your day.
Awesome. Wow.
This looks so incredible.
Wow. Okay. So I think it's quite profound that this is our last week of this class, and it's in Parshat Miketz, and we're going to talk about Miketz. And Miketz is about the ending. It's about the end of things and the end of days, and we're going to be talking about that. So let's jump in for some learning. So this week, the Parsha is Parshat Miketz, and we're continuing along the themes that we've been in for now 5 weeks, ever since the beginning of Yaakov's journey and his dreams, and then transitioning over to Yosef and his dreams. And we're really coming to the culmination of all of the dream teachings that our souls have been immersed in over the month of Kislev, the month of dreaming, and over these many parshiot that have been all revolving around dreams. So it's this is the Miketz. This is also sort of the ending and the culmination of a lot of those incredible teachings around dreaming and the power of dreams. And of course, in our tradition, it's just chock full of the overlap of dreaming and prophecy, and dreaming as the surest pathway to the divine that we really have access to. And it's nothing short of that. And that's a pretty big deal. So
interrupt for 1 second, because I was reading the Parsha this week, and something very unusual. The distinction between Yosef, who dreamt a lot, and Yehuda, who was
grounded.
The opposite.
Interesting.
Like they both such great people.
Yeah, there's such archetypal
and
difference. Yes.
And so that's the dream and the anti-dream, the topic, which is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's so much to be said about the meeting point between Yosef and Yehuda and Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef. And there's like these big archetypes there with those two guys and the difference. There's so much to say.
Focusing on the dream aspect.
On the dream aspect.
The one
right.
had no dreams, he just, as you said, grounded.
Thank you. Okay. So a theme that we're going to be playing with and going deeply into this week, which is just one of my all-time favorites, is this idea of miketz and this idea of what is the end? What are the end of days? I think this is a deep spiritual theme that has that has tickled the souls of all of us for millennia. And I mean, that's kind of ironic that for millennia the Jewish people have been yearning for the end and the yearning for Mashiach, and yet it is this ponderous path of many, many thousands of years, apparently, that we've been talking about this, and our prophets have been talking about it, and our teachers and our own souls have been on this long path of reaching the end. And there's always this sense there's something, we're almost there. There's always this imminent cliffhanger of, oh, it feels like it's right here. And certainly in our times when we're in the middle of the war that we're in, I think we all have an extra sense of like a gasp of wow and yearning for it. So there's a balance between like, oh, miketz, here it is already, thousands of years ago in the Torah, this reference to like the end, and it certainly didn't come then. It's always coming. It keeps on coming. And there's something about the human experience where there's something powerful about that sense of yearning of the end. And it's always the next mountain range over. So we're playing with that. And as part of that, I want to, God help me, bring in the book of Daniel. We're going to look at the Parsha a little bit and the book of Daniel, because the book of Daniel is very much about this miketz. I mean, so many of the prophets are talking about the end of times. But the book of Daniel, I'll just read like at the very end of the book of Daniel, and we'll talk about what the book of Daniel is. But it said ad et ketz, like this is go Daniel. Daniel has these visions and these prophetic moments. And Daniel asks, God, I heard all this, but I don't understand what I'm hearing. I don't understand my visions. God, when is the end of all of these matters? And God said, go, Daniel, for the matters are obscured and sealed until the time of the end. They'll be elucidated and clarified and refined by many people. The wicked will act wickedly, and none of the wicked will understand, but the wise will understand. Praiseworthy is he or she who awaits and reaches the end of many years. And he says, but as for you, Daniel, this is the end of your book. Go ahead and rest, and you'll arise for your portion. V'ta'amod legoralcha laketz hayamim, at the end of days. So that's the last word in the book of Daniel is laketz hayamim. The whole book is filled, though, with images of the end of days. So let's start with the story of Yosef, where we know that Yosef is this incredible, bright dreamer who gets thrown into the pit, and he gets thrown into the jail and is brought up when the Paro, the leader of the people, has a dream that he doesn't understand, and thankfully Yosef comes in to save the day. So if you know anything about the book of Daniel, that's basically his exact story. So Daniel and 3 other young men are brought in by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar again is the king that destroys the first temple, bad guy. But in the book of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar goes through a process of his own tshuva, which is pretty extraordinary. By the end of the book of Daniel, he does tshuva. Then his son and grandsons have to do theirs as well. But he brings in Daniel and these other 3 boys, and they are gifted, spiritual, wise children. And they're sort of raised and groomed in Nebuchadnezzar's palace, and they're considered some of the wise people. And one night, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed a dream, and his spirit was troubled, just like King Ahasuerus, right? Just like Paro. We have this theme in Torah of these kind of not so holy figures who have these dreams, these downloads from God. They don't understand what they mean, and then they have to pull in the Jewish guide to share with them the wisdom. So he has this dream. He doesn't know what it means. He gets very upset and he calls in all of his magicians and all of his wise men, Nebuchadnezzar does. And none of them, he says, I don't know what I dreamed. You got to tell me the interpretation, but you also have to tell me the dream because I don't even remember the dream. And so none of them can. They're like, no person can do that. What are you saying? He said, I'll kill you all if you do not tell me what my dream and the interpretation are. Nobody can do it. And so he appoints somebody to kill all the wise people of his kingdom, which is such a bad idea, as an executive, head of the country. Kill all the wise people if they can't figure this out. And so the head gathers all the wise people. They're about to be slaughtered. And he goes to Daniel and his three friends, and he's like, you guys you're gonna get killed. Sorry. And Daniel gets together his friends, and he says, we have to pray for God to show us the answer to this riddle and what the dream is. And so they pray intensely. And then Daniel goes to sleep at night, and behold, he has a dream and a night vision where he is given over the information about what Nebuchadnezzar dreamed and what the interpretation is. So, okay, just here in the background, all of the Yosef. This is the Yosef story, again. And he comes to Nebuchadnezzar, and this is where we get into the material. So we're talking about the dreams, but then it bleeds over into the material about the miketz and about the end of days. Okay, so this is what the dream was that he explains. You, O king, saw a mighty image. This is a statue. The head was of fine gold, its chest and arms are of silver, its belly and thighs are of brass, its legs are of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. Okay, and then he explains what, and so the king's like, yes, that was the dream. And then he explains, what does this mean? And he explains, you have dreamt about the human history, and you have dreamt about the 4 kingdoms that will rule humanity over the span of history. You are the first kingdom. You are the golden head. And then basically what comes next is that our sages then go and explain what are the 4 kingdoms, the 4 exiles of the Jewish people throughout history, leading up until the final exile and the end of times. So Nebuchadnezzar himself is the one who had the content of this dream of the eventual, of the galuyot, and then the geula that will come at the end. So the exiles and then the redemption at the very end. So Chazal identify. The first one, right, was the head of gold, which is Babylon. The second one is Persia and Media. That's the arms of silver and chest of silver. The third one is understood to be Greece, and that's the thighs of brass. The fourth one is where things get tricky. There is different understandings in Chazal about what that 4th exile is. Legs of iron. And so there are some that say that legs of iron are a reference to Edom and Rome and Western civilization as we know it up until our current time, kind of culminating with the Shoah and the Holocaust. But then there's this tricky fifth part, which is the feet. And the feet are half iron and half clay. So what the heck is that? Okay, so there's the Ibn Ezra, who says that Edom is actually the Western civilization one is connected to the 3rd kingdom of Greece, and that the 4th exile is Yishmael. Oh, but then Rav Sadia Gaon says, no, actually, the 4th exile is understood with about the mixing of the iron and clay. And Daniel says, you saw the feet and the toes, part clay, part iron. That means that the final Galus will be a divided kingdom. They will intermingle, but shall not hold together. So he says, the Sadia Gaon says that the 4th kingdom will be Edom, which is iron, the Western civilization, and Yishmael, which is clay. Because Edom is like militarily powerful like iron, and Yishmael is is like this heavy clay that's just encompassing and ever present and huge numbers. And that's understood to be, this final enemy that we have to battle. And I'm also receiving a lot of this from Reb Eli Meshel, who has a book called The War on Torah, which I highly recommend, where he lays this out of trying to figure out what is this end times vision that we are grappling with right now. And a lot of people are looking to the Daniel source for guidance. That's okay. We thought we were done with the whole Gullus, fighting and dealing with Edom, but actually we're not done because there's Yishmael. Surprise. Doggone it. There's Yishmael right there at the end. But that is what we're experiencing. So Eli Meshel really, his whole book really expands upon this idea of right now we are dealing with the combination and the intermingling of those feet of clay and iron, where you see the college student wrapped in a keffiyeh, the Western world Edom college student wrapping himself in the keffiyeh of the Yishmaelite way of being, which are these two totally different substances, totally radically different. The left-wing progressives, or the Western world European inviting way that Europe invited in the Muslim world, and Europe is being overtaken by Muslims, and we see it happening. And there's this melding of these two forces that are out to get us. We see the International Court of Justice. Netanyahu is not allowed to go to Ireland or any other country because the ICJ said that they would put him in jail. It's like the Western world has gotten into cahoots with the Ishmaelite mentality. And it's such an unexpected, shocking combination. We've seen it coming, but the full-blown expression of it that we're now seeing since October 7th is just on another level. And it's like the mind just goes straight to this image from Nebuchadnezzar. And it helped for me. It's it explains what are we dealing with. So the nice news is that if we were to continue that image of Nebuchadnezzar, is that there are these intermingled elements, but they're not going to hold, and they'll break apart. And in the end, the final kingdom will be established, which is the kingdom of Israel. That is what we are yearning for, and that's what we're fighting and working and learning and praying for. And we just have to continue to look at these prophecies to guide us about how to make our way through this incredible mess. Any questions?
Would you please go over
The four? Yes. Okay. So we have the golden head, which is Babylon. We have the chest and arms of silver, which is Persia and Media. We have the belly and thighs of brass, which are Greece. We have the legs of iron. Belly and thighs of brass. The legs of iron, which are Edom. And then the feet of iron and clay, which you could say are Edom mixed with Yishmael, or you could go with, who was it? Ibn Ezra, who says the third kingdom of Edom, the Western civilization, is also Greece. And that the fourth one entirely of the legs and the clay is Yishmael. So I think what Eli Meshel here is saying is he says that he thinks that Sadia Gaon's view, time is showing us that Sadia Gaon's view is more correct, where you have the final Gullus is Yishmael. Okay, I'm going to switch over now to the Zohar. And I promise we'll get into writing. I know that's what we're supposed to be doing, but I just couldn't resist bringing this. So let's look to Yishmael for a minute. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's look to Yishmael for a minute. So the Zohar on Parshat Vayera says, "Come and see. For 400 years, the supervising angel of Yishmael begged God. He said, 'Whoever is circumcised has a portion with you, right?' And God says, 'Yes.' And so the supervising angel of Yishmael says, 'Well, Yishmael is circumcised. Why doesn't he get a portion with you like Yitzchak does?' And we go back to this age-old, sibling rivalry that we have with Edom, with Esav, between Esav and Jacob, and we also have with Yishmael and Yitzchak. So both of these levels of the sibling rivalry in the biblical family turn into global conflict, historic proportions. So God says, well, Yitzchak is circumcised properly and Yishmael is not. You're supposed to do it on the 8th day. And the angel of Yishmael says, but even though he's not circumcised properly, can't he get a reward? So God responded by distancing the children of Yishmael from himself in the upper worlds, but giving Yishmael a portion below in the Holy Land because they are circumcised. So why is it that we have the Dome of the Rock, etc.? Why are they here in the Holy Land? Well, it's because they are the sons of Abraham and the generations of Abraham, and they are circumcised, and they get certain portions of the Holy Land. And it says in the Zohar, in the future, the children of Yishmael will rule over the Holy Land for a long time while the land is empty, just as their circumcision is empty and without completion, and they will hinder the children of Israel from returning to their place until their merit in the Holy Land runs out. In the future, the children of Yishmael will stir great wars in the world, and the children of Edom will gather against them and make war with them. One on the sea, one on the land, one by Jerusalem. Each one will prevail over the other, but the Holy Land will not fall into the hands of Edom. I'm going to keep on going here. These are these kind of who knows what intense prophetic words. At the same time, a nation from the end of the world will be awakened against wicked Rome. It will make war against her for 3 months, and many nations will gather there, and they'll fall by her hand until the children of Edom will gather against her from all corners of the earth. Okay, there's much to say here. And after this, the children of Ishmael will be finished from the world, and all the supernatural powers of the nations will be broken, and no power will remain above except for the power of Israel alone. So it's a little intense, like I think we're all PC enough to know that saying that, Ishmael children will be destroyed is like a little intense, and we have to take all of this with many, many, many grains of salt and figure out how to not be warmongers as the world is full of war. And I think that that's part of the point, is that the Isaac lineage, the Yaakov lineage are not just bloodthirsty warmongers, and that's our distinction from both Yishmael, who was a hunter, and from Esav, who also was a hunter. So how do we fight against peoples who are hunters, bloodthirsty hunters, without ourselves becoming bloodthirsty hunters? And that is Yaakov's work, is he has to figure out how to put on the skin, the animal skins, and the aspects of Esav in order to get his blessing. And that, I think, is what we're trying to traverse today. And so I'm certainly trying to traverse it as I bring these sources from the Zohar that are very kind of war-oriented and intense, and it's a little uncomfortable for me, but we are in a war, and we have to maintain our moral higher ground at the same time as fighting. And that's Yaakov's goal, is to be the balanced one who can do both. Okay, so that's the historical Miketz in today's teaching that I wanted to bring through. Now let's move forward into our own writing. Wow. So where do we go from there? I think if we go back to looking at the Nebuchadnezzar piece, the Paro piece, where you have these rulers who are given these visions. For me, it's very like, okay, we need to know. That's always the question, right? Is what does these things mean? What does this symbolize? And somehow the Yosef figure, the Yosef archetype, the Daniel archetype are the ones who are able to look at the symbols and understand what they mean and create a path of understanding through the confusion that the leaders, they're confused to the point that they want to kill all their, wise men. Like there's if we look at all this as like archetypal parts of ourself, like the Nebuchadnezzar in us, or the Paro in us, and the part of us that has a dream, but we don't know what it means. We have to bring in the Yosef part of us that can interpret our own dream for us, right? Or the Daniel part of ourselves that we want to be orienting to. Like all of the Torah is happening on multiple levels. It's happening on historical levels and on moral levels and on personal levels, where each of the characters represents something, movements and figures within ourselves. So we want to identify with and grow the Yosef part of ourself and the Daniel part of ourself that's able to come in and guide the nasty ruler with wisdom, right? And that's what Yosef does in this week's Parsha, is he guides Paro with wisdom, and then he's able to go in and take the entirety of the region to a place of prosperity because of his wisdom. And like that's in our lives, we need that. We need to be able to look at the symbols in our life, in our dream world, and on our psychic insides, and tease out from that, okay, what does this mean about how I build my kingdom to be flourishing and sustaining and prosperous? How do I build a prosperous life? How do I access the Yosef in me to build a prosperous interpretation of my life and a prosperous reality on the ground? So that's where I'm hoping that we can go today, is to build our inner Yosef, who's able to understand the symbols. And it all comes down to understanding the symbols. And as we said, I think many weeks ago, Rav Aryeh Kaplan in Inner Space talks about this very clearly, talks about the dream center, which is this part of our consciousness that's able to receive symbolic information from some higher source and from some, psychic place, and translate it through the dream center into understandable material that we can then work with in our living, waking hours. That's our goal in working with our dreams.
To keep your sanity.
Well, yeah, you don't want to go insane. So,
No,
to be balanced.
For years I've been saying that we have to be balanced with the planets.
Yeah. Yeah, we really do. Joseph Campbell has a great quote. He says, "The mystic is able to swim in the waters that drown the madman." Like these are waters and they're real. And if you're not mentally fit, then you can drown in this stuff. And that's why our tradition is like, no, don't touch it. Like we get a lot of teachings in Judaism. They're like, don't go there because you can drown in it. And if you're not in a mentally stable, grounded place, then it can be really unsettling. Just like all of these teachings about the miketz and the end of days, you have to be very careful with them. They can be really destabilizing and take us away from reality, and get us, it's kind of conspiratorial thinking. Like we have to be really diligent and vigilant not to get ungrounded. So it's a really tricky balance, which is I think why it's such a niche interest, is like a lot of people just shut it down. A lot of people just don't have connection to their psychic waters because they're like, that's dangerous or it's unstable, it's destabilizing. And that's true. So you got to do it carefully and conscientiously and with a lot of, prayer for help from God. Okay, so let's transition now to doing our own work, which is, I'm kind of wanting to go back to what we started back many weeks ago, which is building up our symbol dictionary, building up our own personal symbol dictionary. So if you think back to various dreams in which you keep on having recurring symbols. So I know I'm always dreaming about rivers all the time, river this and river that. I'm also always dreaming about cars. So it's very helpful to try to get a grasp of the recurring symbols and images from our dream life and trying to generate some sense of what does this mean to me that I keep on bringing these symbols in. And so that would be where I would invite us to go right now is I want you to jot down, if you think about your whole dreaming life, and I know that there's some of us here who have had a hard time with remembering our dreams, which makes this hard work. Um, but maybe it's not even your dreams. Maybe it's some symbol that you're really drawn to. Maybe you're really drawn to a tree, or maybe you're really drawn to a flower. And so writing out the symbols of your life and giving a little dictionary for yourself of what does this mean to me. So I'd say for those of us who have dreams, do you guys have enough dream material that you can think of? Yeah. Okay, good. I know you do. So, and let's go ahead and if you can choose 3 or 4 dreams or 3 or 4, like let's kind of just amass some of the pools of symbols that recur for us and trying to look at those dreams and basically what you do is you can write out the dream, circle the nouns in the dream, right? So I'm circling the car and I'm circling the river, and you go in and you then define what your best estimation is of what that symbol means to you. Okay, you take whatever you circled, you write out your list of nouns, and you try to make your dictionary of what does this symbol mean for me? And then you reread the dream with that in mind. So if I say I'm driving in a car and I get stopped along the way. So a car for me represents my professional growth. So I'm driving in my professional growth and I get stopped along the way. Right? So I'm just kind of planting my interpretation into the sentencing itself. Everybody feel like you can take some time to do that right now? Do we have enough to work with? Okay, go for it.
What do if we can't remember dreams so well?
You can't remember any dreams from your life?
I mean, if I take a minute, but there's like a few minutes here. I don't know.
So take some time. We have some time. Try to think over the span of your dreaming life. Anything. It's still relevant. Doesn't have to be last night. Or if not, look at your art. What are recurring themes and symbols in your art that just you keep on doing, for whatever reason?
Okay, well, that's easy. If it can be my art, that's fine.
Oh
That's
yeah,
easy.
it can definitely be your art.
Okay, thanks.
Good luck. Okay, we have a good 12 minutes here.
The case.
Looking back at like dream symbols.
Are you recording the last week? You didn't record the cloud.
I don't know. This looks like it's recorded.
I should just roll dreams.
It like focusing on recurring symbols that
Dreams.
and over the time of your dreaming, that there's like recurring symbols and trying to define what that symbol represents to you. Well, it's okay. Whatever symbols you want to define, bring greater definition to for yourself about what they represent inside of you. And I think that we're going to go till 11:15 today. So does that make sense? Okay. Okay, starting to bring it to a close. You ready? Another 1 minute.
Mm.
I think it's more right now just like sharing what you're gathering, what you're understanding. If you want to write a poem, that'd be great too. But I think we're going to go ahead and move into sharing mode. If we have time, then we'll kind of do a poem with it. Okay. Yeah. So I think right now the idea is like it's talking. A lot of this is about how do we take this sort of ineffable material of the psychic waters and the symbols, and it's so kind of beyond our practical nefesh self, but by writing it out, by trying to give it definition, by articulating it aloud, by sharing it and having it witnessed, it's like it allows that higher material to come and be grounded in the vessel, more grounded in the vessel, that we then have a better, like we talked before about, like those when you dream at night, those upper souls go up, but the goal is to get all the information that those upper souls levels of our soul are gathering, and to be able to bring it down the rungs back into the vessel of the body and the material world. So these are our best attempts at how to take that ineffable stuff and give it expression and give it concretization into some usable form for us down here in our day-to-day. Who wants to share whatever came up for you?
I'll share.
Great.
I had this dream that I was in my grandmother's home. It
Wow.
was the home that she lived in when I was young, and I spent a lot of time there.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to me. She was young. She was like in her 30s, and she was beautiful and was dressed in these very elegant clothing and had on these beautiful shoes. And she told me to jump on this beam of light, and we were flying. And she tells me, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what is happening here? Is this real? And she tells me all the things that I wanted to do but couldn't, because I was always too afraid. I want you to do.
God.
And so we start flying. We're on this beam of light, and nothing's making sense. But I feel like I'm conscious. I feel like I'm,
lucid.
like, what's going on here? She's really happy, and she's like singing, and she's telling me of all these beautiful dreams that she had, but she never fulfilled any of them. And when we look down, we're on this beam of light flying, and we look down and we're looking over Israel. And
Israel.
there's people that are waving and we're waving back to them. And she looks at me and she said, "This is your life and it's waiting for you. So go."
Oh my God.
And she said, be happy and never fear and fulfill the dreams that I didn't fulfill. And I took from that that she wanted to come back to Israel. She wanted to come here before she passed, and she got really sick, and so she never came. And I held on to a lot of guilt. So when the opportunity came for me to come back or to move here, I felt like she came to me in this dream to tell me, like, go do it, go live that life.
When was this?
This was like 10 years ago, and I kept having the dream and having the dream, and then I kept having dreams about her, where we're in her garden in my childhood home, and we're picking this fruit, and the colors were very vivid. They were picking oranges and apricots and lemons, and so the colors were like very bright orange and very bright yellow.
Oh my God.
And she was happy, and this was out of character for her. She was a Holocaust survivor. She's very serious. She's always worried. She always had like a sadness about her that you felt, even I did as a child. And so this was out of character for she'd be singing and happy. And maybe this was her before these things happened to her. Like this was the true her that I was seeing and I didn't get to experience when I was a child, because things have happened and she changed. So it was like me getting to experience her real neshama.
And a gift, this is amazing. That's a dream to cherish your whole life. You do. Isn't that amazing?
It is. It stuck with me all these years. And the whole time before moving here, I just kept having these dreams of her coming to me and saying not to be afraid. And like the way she said it was like, it was always in this fun, like laughing, and she was singing and dancing and saying, just be happy. Like when you get scared, just be happy. And it will take the fear away and you'll just do whatever you're supposed to do. Everything will land, and I really needed to hear that because I didn't have anybody else that was encouraging about me coming here. So she coming to me in this dream was really, really special. It was really helpful to me.
Oh my God. This is such the perfect example of how a dream can guide our life. Like you brought down this being guided from on high, from your ancestors and from your higher soul into a practical reality that you created for yourself and your family. I mean, this is a Yosef moment. That's you, the Yosef in you that was able to change your physical kingdom based on the dream content that was calling to your highest soul.
Yes,
it
changed my life.
High five. That's the goal right there. That's the goal, is living that life. So what does she represent? What is the symbol of her?
I believe she came to me to give me wisdom. That was how I look at her, as wisdom.
Higher
And
wisdom.
I always looked at her that way. Like she taught me how to bake and how to sew and how to knit, things that are not relevant in this stage or in this time of living, but are so important to me, and I still do them. They make me feel calm. So she taught me a lot of things, but I never saw her happy. I never saw her like dancing or being free in her mind. So these were things that brought me wisdom, and brought me joy and happiness to see her happy, like in a different part of her life.
Nice. Well, I feel like so there's multiple layers always going on with dreams. On the one hand, this is her, like it's her, she's coming to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And simultaneously another layer is it's something about you. So I'm also curious, so you say it's like my wisdom, like she represents your wisdom, but I also wonder if she represents maybe some part of you that maybe could go to the dark side of, but isn't, it's like able to overcome that wounded place.
Oh, 100%. Yes, because I always have, I'll talk myself out of doing anything. I'll look for the reason to be afraid. I'm very analytical,
Right.
And then make it to the point where it almost seems impossible. So I think that's the dark side. I could have totally talked myself out of it and said, this is not from her. Maybe she's telling me this isn't a good idea. Even though it sounds like it's a fun thing or that she's an advocate for it, I still could have taken it a totally different way. and said, no, I need to be here for my family and my kids, and I shouldn't leave, because that's what she was like. She was a very grounded, rooted person. And her family came first, so I could have looked at it that way as well.
Right. So that should be a gift for you in your waking hours. It's like, I have this ability to choose life and to choose the great adventure of my life without a sense of fear. And I feel like that's a very personal transformation that you get to do. Wow, beautiful. Thank you. How does it feel to just give articulation to that?
It feels good. I've shared this with my husband. And he said, anytime that you have like a grandparent especially that comes to you, that's a symbol of wisdom. It's a symbol of knowledge. They're passing down things to you that maybe they learned through life and they didn't share with you because maybe you were young before they passed. So it's like
Beautiful. Thank you.
Can I apologize because I came late and I'm like this coming in the middle. But I'm wondering if there's some intergenerational, cross-generational redemption that's going on here also. Like by you taking this wisdom and acting upon it and picking yourself up from sadness and away from fear and doing what you want to do, I wonder if that's not giving her redemption.
oh, Hashem, that's a deep thought. I love that.
Tikkun on the past, because yeah, whatever we do better goes back to them wherever they are also.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love that idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Judy, you want to go? Or we could pass and come back to you.
The only thing that I can say is, first of all, I was a part of it, but I just feel a lack of my ability to dig or harness deep feelings, because I feel like in our family it wasn't a spoken idea, but we didn't talk about anything that was negative. And I was always afraid to bring up anything that was negative. Like I never told my parents if something happened with me, if something was hurting me or I wasn't feeling well or anything, and because I felt like they suffered enough, so why should I add to their suffering? And but I really wish that part of me could be accessible. And yeah, so I
Yeah, you've
but-
got some
but-
deep conditioning, and as do many people, and it makes sense, and it was
Yeah.
protective, but you want more.
but I think at the same time, I'm trying to merge the vastness of creation with the micro nano parts, and trying to see how in my life I could balance it.
Well, I love it that just that you're seeing that side so clear of like, oh, that was my conditioning. I'm yearning for my deeper content, and that means looking at the parts that aren't positive and honoring those, and doing that work for yourself. And I think that's every time that little girl in you like wants to not focus on her hardships or whatever, you get the opportunity to mother her differently and to be like, no, it's okay, Judy. Like you can have like giving that to yourself, you know, um, like a real opportunity for self-love.
By the way, I'm really happy to see this scene.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was working on Shiva Chaya's house, that door wasn't there, the right one,
Yeah.
going into her bathroom privately from their room.
Yeah.
I just
A
remember.
good addition.
What?
Yeah, that's a good addition.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessing little Judy to just
Yeah.
love up all of her parts, her sad and her hard and her bright and her like all of it. She just have greater and greater inspiration.
I really do appreciate me.
Yeah, I know.
No, because I feel like Hashem created something that has to do something in this world. And I so much appreciate the variety of possibilities
Yeah.
that I have a chance to harness. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you don't like this on here. Yeah.
Yes, all right. So my story. The Australian novel by Henry Handel Richardson, bound in a dark maroon, hard-covered 1400-page novel, had to be understood. It was written by a woman using a pseudonym in the early 1900s. The story is about an English doctor, Richard Marnie, in the gold rush era in Australia. The language is Victorian English, so hard to understand, and the plot is foreign to me. This was just one text that was required for my matriculation exam at the age of 16. Every so often I dream that tomorrow is the English exam. I have to know the allotted Shakespeare, poetry and essays and novel.
Yeah.
How can I tackle this 1200-page obscure book within the next 18 hours? I wake up shaking and nervous. I passed the matriculation exam. It's over forever. My name appeared in the Sydney Morning Herald, along with the exam results of the thousands of students in the state. It was official. The trepidation of having to complete this task is by now part of my psyche. Yosef would have no problem explaining this dream to me. Judith, it's no sweat. You are too anxious. Yes, life is very serious. You need to prioritize, focus on Emunah. Yeh beseder.
Yay. I love it that Yosef got in there and he's like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah,
too anxious.
yeah.
Yeah. And that you have that part of you that's able to be like, oh, yep, I have that perfectionist self that got a little wounded with the exams taking. Love it. Thank you. I think that is a very universal.
Is it?
It is a dream. I mean, who else here has had exam anxiety dreams well beyond your
High school
anxious?
dreams, but not necessarily
Yeah.
exams.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have
Exam.
test taking anxiety dreams through to their death, you know. It's like
Right.
it's deeply embedded. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
one of
what
the
I said.
main.
It's
So
part
what
of
does it
my
mean if I don't?
psyche.
That's nice. That's nice. I mean, yeah, anxious dreams. So that's one of the symbols for when you're feeling anxious, maybe. So to notice if and when that dream comes up, it represents some anxiety, performance anxiety, or whatever that you need to bring in that comforting voice to. I think another big like universal around that is like missing an airplane.
Oh,
Yeah, have you ever had missing an
Yes.
airplane anxiety of like, I'm gonna miss this? And there's like, I think certain, common themes. Okay, thank you. And I love how you wrote so beautifully about the details around the book and such rich writing.
yeah, but it's also a very alien culture. I mean, I'm here at the yeshiva, and here I have to focus in on the gold rush and
Right.
the Australian
Is this a
priority.
recent dream?
No, it comes up all the time.
It's a recurring.
Since I'm 16.
Your inner psyche is trying to work it out by having the dream over and over again and saying,
Work out what?
work out the anxiety,
Oh.
And to come to a place of healing around it, So I think bringing in that Yosef voice who's able to calm you is part of saying, I hear that my unconscious self is struggling with something. Let me bring my conscious mind to write about it and to bring that Yosef in a conscious way that then will, impact the unconscious material. Like that's why we have recurring dreams, is because it's like trying to figure out something. There's these dream books where I remember one of the examples was there was this woman who didn't know how to fix her bike, and literally in her life, and she kept on having this recurring dream of not knowing, of having her bike break down and not knowing how to fix it. She talked to her husband about it, and they got together, and he went out to the backyard and he worked with her to teach her how to fix her bike in real life. And then she went back into the dream, and the next time she had that dream, she was able to fix her bike.
Wow.
Right. So it's just this place where our conscious mind and our unconscious mind are a nice shidduch. It's like making the shidduchim between the conscious and the unconscious. And we can actually do that. Like if you have some dream issue that like is coming up, you can either write it out consciously and give yourself that message just the way that you just did, or you can go and like work on it in your living life, and then it impacts your dream. And vice versa, you can work on an issue that you're having in your living life and work on it in your dream life and come to solutions and come to working it through. Like
I also think, as you were talking, and I wrote this out, that there is a disconnect between a Jewish girl growing up in a Christian culture.
Yeah.
And I had to, when I went to public school,
Yeah.
we had to sing Christmas carols, and
Right.
I think that
Impacted your soul.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. If that wasn't me, so that made it even more difficult.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi,
Came
how
kind
are
of
you?
late.
I'm Ellen Samuelson.
Oh, hey,
Nice
how are
to meet
you?
you.
Good to see you. We're talking about dreams.
Hi, it's all
Taking
all
it in.
works for me. So.
Okay.
Anyone at home wants to share?
Right. So we're going to go to Hannah. No, you don't want to share. Okay. It's personal. Were you able to identify anything? Okay, good. Great. Thank you. Shabachai, how about you? Anything, images from your art?
Well, I actually remembered a dream theme actually in the end for now, but I want to consider the art question also. So it's just really simple, but okay. It's when I have a dream of being in like a many rooms, like going from one room to the next in some type of a home, a house, and two specific, it's a theme that comes up that I'm in a space like that, and two specific dreams that I remember well, which is kind of rare for me, is being in very special people's house and feeling very like in light, like in a good place that I'm in their house. And like I'm really there, like they invited me in.
Mm.
So that's the dream. And then this being in a different rooms of a house, the space, to me, the symbol is to have a place in the world.
Nice.
And looking and searching and trying to find a place, like my place in the world. And then so in the dream, it's being like, I mean, the to get a little more specific, what the dreams were, these themes, is more than one like very special like tzaddikim people in Sfat who I know, and like their houses, and like being like brought into that place, that like just knowing that I have that's my place in the world. Not that I don't know where my place is in the world, that I'm invited into this very good, wonderful home place in the world.
Beautiful. Love it. And you give yourself that when you have those dreams, and you can actually enter into the psychic space of those people. I mean, we can travel in our dreams. We can go and visit people in our dreams and have actual connection with them on a psychic level in that space. And I'm sure you're doing that. So cool. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll share for myself that a big theme of mine is cars, and I think I got an insight today because for me, like a car represents my ability to function and to move my life forward in a functioning, successful way. And I keep on having these dreams about my daughters taking my car and wrecking it or going the wrong way or ending up. And I think I have a lot of anxiety about worries that I have about my daughter's abilities to move their lives forward that I'm working through in my dreams. And then I think that they also represent parts of myself, like they represent themselves in the dream and how I'm experiencing their challenges. But then they also represent parts of myself where I also don't feel like I know how to move my life forward. And so it's a multi-layered symbol of A, my car, and B, my daughters, and then the combination of those themes with the daughters driving the car. So I got a lot of clarity on that just now by bringing conscious focus to it. Another big theme of mine is waterways. I'm always dreaming about waterways, which I believe represent inner psychic material and inner content. And sometimes I'm surfing, and sometimes I'm, don't want to go into the waters because they're cold and they're uninviting, and I'm uncomfortable. And sometimes I have a boat, and the boat allows me to go through the waters in a way that feels safe. And so the boat is a nice image for me that feels like very safe ability to traverse tricky waters in a safe way where I don't have to get too cold. And then I have trains and I have planes. So I have like a lot of vehicles that come up in my dream world. And the planes represent anxiety most of the time. Like I'm not gonna get where I need to go, or like there's somewhere I really want to go and I'm supposed to go, but I don't get there in time, or something doesn't go right with it. And then there's buses. Sometimes there's buses where I get other people involved in my stuff, and we go on a bus together. Anyway, do you want to say anything? I know you kind of came in at the end.
I think, like I said, like I came late and I'm not quite, I have interesting dreams. I used to have a dream that was recurring for years that I never graduated high school. It wasn't a test, but I was still like behind sitting in the same desk. I'm getting bigger. This desk is the same size desk.
Yeah.
And the students are changing, but I'm there. And the recurring dream stopped when I started teaching at that same high school.
Nice.
So I don't know what that was about, but I had to go back to Herzliya to teach there because I was a student there.
Wow.
Charlotte Brad also was my colleague over there in that school.
Wow.
So that in terms of recurring dreams,
Nice.
that was a recurring dream. I haven't had it in years.
Yeah.
I used to have dreams of flying, and I used to love the feeling of just being able to zoom around the room. And then I stopped having that also. And I think that's a good thing. Although I felt good in the dream, but then I realized maybe I'm just escaping something. I just wanted like rise above. And I think it has something to do with that. I'm not quite sure. But I don't have those dreams anymore. Um, the really strong dream that I had lately, like not like maybe 2 weeks ago, was about a sun. And like I breathed in the sun. It stopped my breath. Like I saw the sun, and I breathed it in, and it woke me up, and I realized what's going on. But I noticed a shift in me since that dream.
Mm-hmm.
It was more from moving from moon energy to sun energy, more from a place of neediness to a place of inner strength, and more of a moving from a place of not quite being. The sun represents to me, I think, as opposed to the moon, is I know who I am. I accept myself, and I'm good. And where there's self love, then there's it. I don't know how to say it, but I'm more confident in even handling disappointments. Like it's okay. Like I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the moon. I'm the sun. It
Simanto. Yeah.
it's
It's a good
seemed-
symbol.
It was a good symbol when I fell asleep. Maybe you could tell me because you're the dream lady here. But when I dreamt that dream, I fell asleep not realizing I fell asleep. That wasn't the dream. I was like in my bed reading, and I fell asleep,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't realize like I fell asleep. But in my dream, I was like in the same position in my bed with the same clothes, as if I didn't shift into a dream.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know that it was a dream? There was only one item in the dream that let me know that it was a dream, and that the beginning of the dream was I was fooling around with my phone, and a voice came from the side of someone not in my room was saying, "Stop with the texting. Look, there's the sun." And then I dropped the phone. And then when I woke up, the phone was not where I was in the dream where I dropped it. So that was the only indication that it was really a dream and not real. It was like that little detail of the phone where it was on my bed. But the rest of the dream was like it was so real. Even
Very
that
real,
voice came to tell me about this, and it was like I'm a Kubal type of person that I know that told me, like,
Nice.
there's the sun there. Like,
Yeah.
look at the sun.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I looked at the sun, and I was like, and it was like,
Yeah.
in me, and then I woke up,
Nice.
and the whole thing didn't feel like a dream, like not
Right.
falling into it, not coming out of it.
Yeah. So, right. I love it. Oh my God. It's so
Mhm.
powerful. I think what I would say about that is that sometimes we dream and we're more in the liminal space. Like
What does that mean?
Liminal meaning you're not quite awake and you're not totally asleep. Like more of a hypnagogic is the word for it. It's like I'm in kind of in between where I have a little bit more of a kesher between my conscious self and my unconscious self. When we dream, our brain waves, like they've studied the brain waves around us, like there's brain waves of deep unconscious, and then there's brain waves of a little bit more. If you look at like the ladder of how we dream at night, the brain waves of dreaming are not the deep delta brain waves of unconscious sleep. That's the very rejuvenative sleep at the way at the bottom. There's like upper brain waves that are faster, that are more allow us to have a connection between our conscious and our unconscious. So sometimes hypnagogic stuff can be much more, well, we remember it. You remembered it for one
It was
thing.
like I lived it.
Yeah.
I'm almost like I lived it.
Yes, it was
I
that
lived it.
close to your conscious self that it was like real. So that it testifies to like that you're at a certain brain wave there that can sometimes be very, very rich in treasures of insight because you actually remember it, A, and B, like there's just like there's a lot of powerful imagery that can come in there. That's oftentimes when you can interact with a tzaddik, or a figure who can give you guidance, like oftentimes will happen in that particular realm of size of the brainwaves. Yeah, so that's good. And that's why like meditation is so helpful also. We didn't talk about meditation so much, but meditation is when we use our breath and our focus to generate certain brain waves that are, the longer, deeper brain waves that where we can access greater insight and higher mind when we generate those brain waves. So I'm sorry, I don't have like my sheet with the there's like I call it a Jacob's ladder of what our brain traverses when we sleep at night. And there's like universal patterns across all peoples that show it, like, alpha, I think it's beta. I don't remember what it's called, that there's certain realm of brainwave activity that is the most, like can be the most expressive and insight generating. So another class for another time. Okay, thank you so much. It's been wonderful writing together, learning together, and dreaming together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Hanukkah. And
so unfortunately, if I will not be continuing this class although we're trying to get it to
At some
continue.
point, maybe in the future, we'll
Maybe in
pick
the
this up
future.
again. Yeah.
Bezrat Hashem.
Bezrat Hashem. Dream.
But we'll have like we'll have evening events with you, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure. Okay. That's for you.
That's pretty fine.
Me kids, you know?